Yeah, this game is actually a hidden treasure that a lot of shooter genre fans should play, but it's not without its flaws. And as you guessed, in this video, we're going to be discussing Forgive Me Father and whether it is worth it or not to purchase right now. Or just in short, is it worth the money it is asking for? So without further ado, let's just get started. And as always, to not waste any more of your time, as with every single other video, I'm going to be giving you the answer right away. Whether Forgive Me Father is actually worth it to buy or not. Yes, it is worth it. However, for some, or maybe for many of you, the game is not actually giving you enough to justify its price. But let's just discuss this in the details. So what even is Forgive Me Father? So Forgive Me Father is the first person old school shooter with very unique visual style. Gameplay wise, for me it felt very close to the mix of Doom and Left 4 Dead. We have fast twitch movements and a gunplay of Doom and its latest games, and you have the world feeling of very close reminiscent to Left 4 Dead, even though it's more like Lovecraftian style. And first, let's discuss the most distinctive thing of this game, its visual style. The game has very distinct visual style that differentiates it from every other shooter games that I've played in the recent years. You see games of course in full 3D, however, majority of the assets of the game is actually in 2D. In this case, it's mainly the guns, and all the enemies are actually 2D sprites, meaning that they're actually 2D images which are always facing the player, no matter where you look at it from, except from the height. So basically, these are just 2D images that just rotate, and if you could look from its side, it will be just plain line because they're actually 2D. And at first, I thought that this would be like very cheap trick and it would not look that great, but I was actually very wrong. The game has very distinct comic book drawn style that gives the game very distinctive and very beautiful flair, to be fair. The visual style of the game was very reminiscent to Wolf Among Us and other Telltale games, and it was just simply beautiful. And every single model in the game is drawn meticulously in the highest details, and animations, even though very like 2D and choppy, they look very beautiful, and all of those is enhanced by the gameplay itself. So in a gameplay, you play through the single player campaign that at the moment of the recording consists of 25 missions. Each mission is a different level, and it takes around 10 to 20 minutes to complete each level depending on the difficulty level. There are 5 difficulty levels, and the game varies from pretty easy and pretty well fun playthrough to extremely hard and extremely difficult old school shooter. Different levels are played out in different environments, and each and every enemy is actually adapted to those environments. And enemy design and their gameplay variety is actually pretty cool and pretty interesting as well. And to be fair, I haven't seen anything like that for a pretty long while. As the simplest example are the zombies that are carrying the severed head in their hand. And when you headshot those zombies, they will literally take the second head and put them on their own, and they will continue charging. So basically that means that in order to defeat these enemies, you need 2 headshots. And a lot of enemies have very similar mechanics to them. Well, like one enemy who is shooting at you a huge number of projectiles has a little acid canister on its back, and when you shoot it, well, the enemy will die. A few enemies, after you kill them, unless it's a headshot, their top part or their bottom part will continue charging you even after they're dead, and you have to kill them twice. And small mechanics like that makes this game incredibly tense and very, very fast paced. And it is very fast because you have only one movement speed in the game. Fast. You're literally sprinting all the time. And gunplay wise, it's very close to the Doom. You have no ADS button, basically you are not aiming, and hip fire is the only thing that you can do, and you don't have any reloads as well. Well, at least not in a traditional sense. For example, the double barrel shotgun, when you shoot them, it will need to reload, but you're not doing it manually, it's doing it automatically. Weapon wise, you have quite a good selection, even though not very big one, but its selection is actually multiplied by the skill tree. Each time you level up, you gain a skill point, which you can put in different skills that will change your survivability or add different skills or even alter the weapons themselves. Each weapon has at least 2 distinct separate paths where it can take, and each path will transform the weapon into something completely, and if you continue upgrading it further, well, it will change it even further. And 2 different characters that are playable at the moment have the separate skill trees that is adapted to a different playstyles. In the game you have also a few different abilities which will increase your ammo count or will make you invulnerable or will slow down time, etc, etc, which makes game pretty variable and pretty fast and pretty interesting. In the beginning, during the first levels, you only meet a few enemies, while at the later levels you are constantly in a combat and constantly in a movement, which leaves very Doom-like experience. But after the campaign, game has also an endless mode as well. You have a few arenas that you can choose and you can continue playing in those arenas as well. And your goal there is basically to survive for as long as possible. The story campaign wise, well, I was not very invested in a campaign because, well, it's nothing unusual. Game is not very focused on campaign itself, and majority of the campaign is actually delivered through you with a few different lines of voice acting that is not happening very often, and through different, well, basically story panels. When you go through the game, you see the text titled story popping up all over the place, and you need to go there, press it and read the text and then continue and move on. Overall, the story is not the main point of the game. The main point is basically just pure old school shooting, enjoyment and fun. But is this game actually, well, worth it? Well, and downside wise, well, to be fair, I did not see a lot of them. Game looked and played very beautifully, and I really don't know what I could change or what I could add to the game. Its style makes it very distinct, and well, overall gameplay fluidity, speed, and well, overall enjoyment and challenge makes this game pretty much almost perfect. But with the one downside. Game is not very, well, how can I say, long. In order to beat the game, you will need around 5 to 6 hours. Depending on the difficulty levels, you can extend the game to around maybe 8 to 10 hours. And add to that an endless mode, and you're getting maybe somewhere between 7 to 12 hours of gameplay. But what about the price? How much the game is asking for this around 12 hours of gameplay? Well, game is available on Steam for the base price of $19.99 for tier 1 countries and $12.99 for tier 2 countries. And it's on sales, it can go as low as around $10 for tier 1 countries and around $7 to $8 for tier 2 countries. And usually when I rate the games whether they are worth it, I really take into account one very important part of the price to gameplay ratio, and that is $1 1 hour gameplay ratio, meaning that each dollar that you spend on the game should at least give you 1 hour of enjoyment. More multiplications of that it gives to you, more it is worth it. As an example, if the game costs only $5 and it easily gives you 15 hours of enjoyable gameplay, it is 100% worth it. But this time, depending on what price you will buy it, it will actually give you less than 1 hour per $1 enjoyment. But is it a bad thing for this game? Actually, not. It depends, of course, how fun this 1 hour is. And this game is actually fun through and through. And because even at full price, game is not expensive, the game is 100% worth it for the full price as well. You just need to be very aware that you will get maybe around 12 hours of gameplay from this game, and it depends on how much you enjoy a challenge and how much you enjoy the endless mode of the game. You also have to take into account that the game just came out of an early access and it's still continuing to develop, and you will most likely get much more levels and much more gameplay from this game, and that's actually very important to know as well. So overall, is this game worth it for those prices? And my answer is yes. 100%. Even for the full price, game is 100% worth it. Again, judging from what I know and judging from what I expect from this game, you should be expecting this amount of gameplay as well. You will get at least 5 hours of very high intense enjoyment, and you will get at least 10 hours of, well, challenge if you will continue playing the game on higher difficulties, and around 12 hours plus if you continue playing the game on an endless mode. So yes, for this price, this game is 100% worth it, and this is the rare occasion when even on full price I would recommend this game. Of course, judging that you know what you're taking yourself into, and if you watch the gameplay and you think that it looks cool, then well, you will enjoy it a lot. And just know that this is not an easy game. It's not very challenging on an easier modes, but it's pretty difficult on anything above normal. Well, as it should be. Just know that. So this will be it for today. Let me know in the comments down below, do you enjoy the games with a very distinct art style? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for being here with me. Like the video, like it, subscribe for more videos like this one. I'm gonna see you in the next one. See ya.